Speaker. I want to say a huge thank you to the member for Banff and Buchan for bringing this debate today, this bill. It is long overdue, 4 years after the signing of the Istanbul Convention, that we are here today to try and push the government to ratify. I think that what I want to say, potentially uncharacteristically, I intend to say a few uncharacteristic things, is that I know how much the government cares about this issue. Long before I was in this place, I worked very, very closely with some of the Home Office officials, some of whom I know are here today to work on these things. I have been working with the Home Office under the then Home Secretary, now the Prime Minister, for years, and I have never seen anything to lead me to believe that they had anything but commitment to improving legislation in the area of domestic violence and sexual violence. In practical terms, when things have to be delivered and that costs money and that falls to the DCLG's auspices, things did tend to break down. But in legislative terms, the Modern Slavery Bill, the Act Against Coercive Control, all of these things let me know that regardless of all of the things that divide us, and my gosh, I could talk out a debate on how many things that there are that divide us. But you know, I like to sleep at night and was raised properly. So I will give way.
I'm grateful to the honourable lady for giving way. May I also put on record my support for this and for what she's saying, but would she agree that it's not just enough to pass legislation, but also to enforce it, and that has also been somewhat lacking over the last few years?
Jess Phillips.
I agree entirely that enforcement, what we tend to do in this building is pave the way with great intentions and great legislation. I think we have some of the best legislation with regard to domestic violence in the world. However, what we tend to do is open an enormous door into an empty room. And it is very, very difficult for our police forces to enforce on certain issues. And it's not because they don't have the legislative framework. It's for a whole series of other reasons. And we all have to work together, a bit like yesterday in the social care statement, and in every conversation in this place about the NHS. We need to work together to make this happen. And in a sort of moment of total pragmatism, and I hope that the benches opposite don't take offence at what I'm about to say, but I would dance with the devil to make women and children safer. I will do anything. The reason I came to this building was to bang my fists on this side of the table because I got sick of banging them on the other. And I know that the government care about this. I know that if perhaps they weren't distracted with other things, the ratification of the Istanbul Convention probably would have passed really easily. And what I would say to those on the benches opposite is that the stumbling blocks over compulsory PHSE and talking to young people about consent and the ratification of the Istanbul Convention make a real threat to what is not a bad record in this area. It is a pretty good record. And also, when we allocate funding, it is a pretty good record. It needs a lot of work. I didn't mean to say that was a good record. It's not very good. In fact, all the refugees are threatened in my constituency at the moment. If I wasn't here and if I hadn't won my seat, I would be today surrounded by piles and piles of presents and gifts that would have been given by the local community to refuge. My desk used to become like a fort, and we would have to have parties, actual parties organised to get the presents wrapped in order to give out thousands and thousands of presents to the women and children who lived in refuge every year. And we would always throw a party, and it would be it might not seem like it to those who've never worked in that field, one of the happiest times of year. And one of the reasons it was so happy was because No matter if you were the chief executive of the organisation, if you were the commissioner from the council, if you were the cleaner in the refuge, if you were one of the children in the refuge, everybody rolled up their sleeves to achieve something together. We would all make the sausage rolls. The women would be running in and out of their flats with different plates of food so that we could all spend Christmas together, knowing that there is a huge amount of solidarity in the world for victims of domestic violence. And I know that the Istanbul Convention, one of the main underpinning of it is the idea that we all work together, is that we need multiple agencies genuinely working together across the world to improve things for victims of domestic violence. No. It's worth thinking about for a minute, but I'm sure it's the honourable gentleman is going to get his say. I want very much to stand here and say as well some thank yous to the people who have meant that we are here today. Not only our colleagues from Scotland have done a fantastic job of, and in their usual sort of en masse are all sat there together in their block. I'd like to say some, again, uncharacteristic thanks, potentially, to the Leader of the Opposition, who has certainly shown his commitment to this and worked with us to make sure that the Labour Party today will show its commitment to this, and to Amy Watson specifically in his office, who it's always exciting moments of politics when you just spend all day on the phone ringing around people to get them to a place. I would like to thank the unions who have been involved in trying to lobby members to be here today. Unison, I kept getting lots of lobby emails from the Muslim Council for the UK lobbied me, and also Unison lobbied me, and all of that is down to the hard work of the women, the volunteer women from IC Change, who have done an amazing job on almost no resources, which just shows me how brilliant and powerful women can be, and they can achieve pretty much anything when they put their minds to it. And all of us here today on the last Friday before Christmas, I think, is a testimony to their immense work. So I would like to say a massive thank you to them. What I will finish by saying is that all of us will wake up on Christmas morning and we will be stressed out. We will get up really early. It's the only day when it's acceptable to drink from 6 a.m. in the morning. On holiday it's 12 o'clock, on Christmas Day it's 6 o'clock. That is the rule my family live by. We will all be stressed, and we will be wondering whether we've got the right things, and there'll be a present that's gone missing, and things will be more stressful, especially for the women folk of this world, than they are particularly festive or cheerful. Things are tense on Christmas Day. Now, I ask everybody in here to imagine that that tension isn't just because you're not sure whether you got the right gifts for your auntie, or if so-and-so is going to have a chair, or the children's table is going to collapse like it did last year. For some people, they wake up on Christmas Day and they will try not to say anything wrong. They will try not to put a foot wrong. They will make sure everything is perfect. They will have risk assessed every single step that they take throughout the day, because just this one day, their children deserve not to have the monster that lives in their home erupt in their faces. Just this one day, their children deserve to have the peaceful day that all of our children have taken for granted. And so, all of the stresses that we will all feel, for those people, will be terror and control over everything they say and do in order to keep things safe. If we ratify this convention, and if we send them a message today, that will be the greatest gift that we could offer.
Wendy Moore.